something that just slowly gets under your skin in Australia. Ropes have been kind of tightened bit by bit, being slowly suffocated.
Tell us about the ego falling away and that what you went through as a man and to adjust. How did you deal?
For man, there's an expectation, right?
Tommy Gallant is an Australian executive who built a long career growing partner ecosystems for major tech brands like AWS, HP, and Zendesk across Asia Pacific.
Today, he's stepped away from the corporate pace for a more intentional life in Cyprus, where he focuses on well-being, coaching, and living with more balance and purpose.
Everything that society looks at as what makes a man was being taken from me.
You went through this hardship, you surrendered, you focused on your health. What does your daily routine look like here in Cyprus?
Okay, so I'm going to hold you to the interview back the other way.
You've had a front row seat to some pretty interesting experiences in my life this year, both good and bad.
Yeah.
And I'm almost ready to talk about most of that. So. Welcome to this special episode of The Sat Signal. Now, I know these podcasts are normally about Bitcoin, but lately I've done a few interviews with friends and people I've met along my travels that have chosen plan B for their life. That is, pick up, start again in a brand new, fresh place. And today I have the pleasure of speaking to one of my good friends in real life, Tommy Gallant. So Tommy moved here to Cyprus a few months after I did. And the reason I was so keen to get Tommy on the show is because I wanted to bring you a very different podcast interview. One that is not headlined by somebody who's made $1 squillion or somebody that is the beacon of success in traditional terms, but rather a guy in his 50s who went through a divorce, then lost most of his money in a failed business venture, and then moved overseas in his 50s to start again. And how today he is one of my best friends. He's one of the fittest guys that I know. He's one of the happiest and well-adjusted guys I know. And he lives just a few blocks from me here in Cyprus. And we talk about what was the lowest point that he went through, how did he deal with it, how did he get his head together, what is he doing here in Cyprus, what made him choose Cyprus apart from yours truly being here, but what's life like in Cyprus, what does he do for a living, how does he invest his money, what has been his perceptions. And then as the interview evolved, we sort of got into a bit of a chat about my journey to Cyprus and some of the stuff that's going on in my life over the last year. And it was just two mates having a really good, open-hearted chat about life after 50. And I think you'll really like it, especially if you stick around towards the back 1/3 of it, where we just sort of, fell into a discussion about our lives as nomads, freedom maximalists, and friends living in Europe with Australian backgrounds. I hope you enjoyed as much as I enjoyed having the conversation. With that said, this is my interview with Tommy Gallant. All right, guys, welcome to this episode of Unemployable. This is the third try of this interview. We did a practice run, then we tried to do one in the wild in a coffee shop in the back streets here of Limassol, but it proved too challenging with the audio, and we were hoping to bring you something that showed you this beautiful little town that we both live in, but we've ended up back at Tommy's place, so welcome to the show.
Thanks, mate. I was hoping we could get it going in a Lefteria Street, which is translated as Freedom Street. So it would have been so good, right?
It would have been perfect for our discussion. That's actually where we started first. We had 3 coffee shops for you guys this morning trying to get a cool spot, but wasn't to be. So guys, this one's a little bit different. I've asked Tommy to come onto the show because a lot of people, when they think about moving to Cyprus, as you've done, they think, it's only for the rich, it's only for millionaires, it's only for people trying to dodge tax or whatever it is that people think. But Tommy's story is actually quite different. And what we're going to get into is why he moved, what he went through leading up to today, and also, I guess, what you do for money and how you build a life here in Limassol, what you found in moving.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm so grateful that you come on is because I know a lot of you guys watching are not spring chickens. My audience, I'm 51, they've followed me now, many of them for 10 years or more, and they've kind of grown and evolved as people as well. Many of you guys listening to this, I know, are in your 40s and 50s, and one thing I've noticed, Tommy, with a lot of my friends, and I become more and more grateful with every passing day, is that so many of my friends go through life and they have a challenge or two challenges that completely change everything for them, and not always for the best. They go through divorces, they go through one or two bad business decisions or investments that went wrong, and then they find themselves in their mid-50s really in a bad place. But you've been through some real challenges, which you've agreed to talk about today, which I'm grateful for. But you remain one of the fittest and most positive people that I know, and you're 59 years old, and you moved countries, and you're learning new things. So thank you for coming on to talk about it. For the listeners at home, if you're in this category, I think you're going to enjoy this conversation. So, Tommy, first of all, where were you at your lowest point before you left Australia? What were you dealing with, and how did you get through it?
Okay. I think my lowest point was probably going back about 9 years, so now 59, right? And that was when I had a perfect storm of shit, if you like, that happened in my life. I was going through, a second divorce. I'd had an investment that I took a plunge on. That was, a beautiful dual lock, double story thing built over water, just inside Indonesia. Where a lot of Singaporeans had also invested, and this thing collapsed, as in like the whole business around this.
And all your money?
All money, yeah right. And then health wake-up call. My son and his mother, and we have a very amicable relationship these days. It was time for my son, he was about 12 or 13, and my first ex-wife to, they wanted to move back to Adelaide. Right. And I thought, okay, everything is being stripped from me right now, right, at the same time.
And you had a health scare in there as well, right?
Like health wake-up call. Yeah, I was also a triathlete. And, I went from being a very successful executive, high-flying, was high energy, the ego was on fire pretty well, right? And there's nothing better than a perfect storm of shit to just strip you of everything, and to then get into that opportunity without sounding cliche. All of those events that I've had, and there was a few after too. I had a choice. And a lot of people go this way where they decide to opt out, they do themselves in, or you surrender and use it as an opportunity to learn who you actually are, why you're here, and then start to lead a purposeful life. So we can go into any one of those that you like.
I'd love to. Look, hearing you talk, I know a lot of women that are going through mid to late 40s and early 50s, they go through menopause, right? And I read something about menopause recently. They said that the cloud of compassion that surrounds a woman's heart kind of lifts when they go through menopause.
Of course it does.
So all of a sudden they're like, I just don't have that level of buffer to deal with your bullshit anymore. But the funny thing is, I think men go through it too when they hit 50.
Yeah.
I think men get through to this stage where you came out of the corporate world and you just did not have that buffer to deal with the corporate bullshit anymore.
Yeah.
So you sort of got to 50, a divorce happened, so your wealth was subdivided. Then you had this investment where you lost a large chunk of money on top of...
It was subdividing for the second time.
Yeah, so you got divorced, then the investment that you had went to shit,
right.
And then you turned 50 as well, so your tolerance for bullshit drops.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and you found yourself living on a houseboat, right, eventually. So tell us that story quickly.
Right.
Like you basically opted out, and tell us about the ego falling away and that what you went through as a man and to adjust. How did you deal?
Yeah, or even as a human as well. But certainly for man, there's an expectation, right? I think I'm fortunate. There's just an inbuilt attitude that I have never ever thought of topping myself. Right? There are times where I've been in the shower and I've leant up against the side of the shower and thinking, "Fuck, this is kind of long." As I move to the Gold Coast and talk about the houseboat, there's a whole lot leading up to that. But, I had a beautiful apartment with 270-degree views. That was one of my investments. and knowing that someday I'd come back to Oz, and if I was going to, where would I love to settle? And
You were in Singapore at this time?
I was at Singapore, right? I moved in 2018, so we're talking about 7 years ago.
Okay.
And, my son had come back to Adelaide. I was in what I was thinking could be the bookend of my career. It was a great company, 30 years in tech, right? In the sales and marketing side, building business partner ecosystems. And I was getting paid well. My pay was continuing to increase. They were giving me resources. My stock was heading north. And I said, look, I'm looking to move back to Oz. And, because my son is now over there, it's been 6 months. I don't like being this far away from him for this long. And started to kind of negotiate. And there was lack of flexibility. Back then, the whole remote working thing was...
Pre-COVID, didn't exist really.
No, exactly, right? And to me, it was stupid. It never made sense, right? Because it's not like a clock in, clock out thing, especially in tech of all industries. And so I went to negotiate, took a couple of meetings with my then boss, and I said, it got to a point where he said, look, this is the second meeting. We can give you a week, a month back, and you can sort of work around the Australian part of your territory, because I would always look after all of Asia Pac. I said, that's not enough. I'll be working, I'll be exhausted. You're doing meetings at night, right? And you're drinking and whatever. And I thought, I'm not going to go to see my son. And I looked down at the ground, and it was about, 30 seconds. And I think he was wondering, what am I doing? And I was making a big decision right now. I'm thinking, Tommy, let's dig deep into what's true and what's really the right thing to do here, right? Regardless almost of outcome. And I looked up, and they thought I wasn't going to make a move because everything was heading north for me. I was crushing it. And I said, that's it. I said, I'm hanging up the boots. I'm done.
So you walked out of your corporate life at age 50.
Yeah.
Walked away from the business card and the corporate life.
Yeah.
And moved back to Australia to basically start again. And at the same time, the divorce happened, or nearby.
The second one.
The second one
was in process.
Yeah, the second one was in process.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about 50, but my whole life blew up at 50 as well.
Right.
So, so you basically turned 50, walked away from years of living in Singapore as a high-flying
14 years.
14 years of being a software sales exec for APAC.
Yep.
Moved back to Australia, and lost all your money in the, not all of it, but a lot of your money in this bad investment, most of your money in this bad investment in Indonesia.
Yeah.
The wife and you split, so you lose half your wealth there.
Yeah.
And so you find yourself back in Australia without any of the padding that all these stories basically give us, right?
Yeah.
So, so where to from there? So, what was I just want to talk quickly about the letting go of the ego, because a lot of guys really struggle with the acceptance piece.
Yeah.
And I have had, unfortunately, a couple of instances in the last couple of years with friends that have decided to take a path that it just leaves everybody in shambles, right?
Yeah.
In their life, because they can't reconcile. What was sort of the worst times for you, and what were some of the things that you did to sort of help yourself out of that? Yeah. And then I want to talk about why you moved to Cyprus and what you're feeling today, and what was the move like, and all that stuff. But I just want to spend a minute on this, because I just know that there's a lot of Australians who watch this, and our audience, and Kiwis that are struggling. So what were some of the things that you dealt with in that letting go of the ego process? You've lost, what was the phase? Was it acceptance?
Yep. And
then what were you telling yourself? What were you doing in your life? What became your anchors?
Yep.
What helped you move toward the positive?
Okay. Look, I moved in like 2018, everything except the apartment that I had there. So the biggest chunk of my wealth had evaporated. And when I'd left the gig, and I thought, I want to do something more meaningful, and having like broken out as the corporate penitentiary, as I used to call it, I started to realize how much this is really the corporate penitentiary of my mind. And I had succeeded, I had an opportunity to go dramatic arts as a kid, or business, and coming from a Greek family, a lot of influences around making money, right? And I thought, okay, well, I'll do this, and I was the first one in our generation to get a degree. Everything was on path, but I got to that point where everything was being stripped from me, right? And I basically had a choice, as I said, but I ended up surrendering. And as I started to look from the other side of, well, I've been punched big time in the guts, and in a health scare as well, having been a very fit triathlete. Everything that society looks at as what makes a man was being taken from me.
Was there any books you read at that time that helped or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, like I listened to podcasts continually and have for the last 7 or 8 years. Back then, it was all on health, because I thought, well, I don't get to play in the game here if I'm taken out. So let's go to the fundamental, Maslow's hierarchy. And
So you got into your health.
got into my health, right?
You recommended a book to me recently. What was it? The Joy of Not Knowing?
Yeah, the Book of Not Knowing.
The Book of Not Knowing?
Yeah, by Peter Ralston. Would suggest for anybody that's starting on this journey it's on Audibles. I listen to all my stuff on Audibles while I'm working out, right? Have a listen to that. That's one good one to really understand what the ego is in the mind, because like this, everybody thinks this is the master and I can work it out, right? All on data. But really, this is the master, right? This should be the slave to this master. This one's really fucking loud. This one whispers.
So for our audience that are listening on Spotify, Tommy's going between his head and his heart here.
Oh, yeah.
So he's basically saying that, we think the head is ruling things, but it's actually the heart that knows.
Yeah.
There's a saying around that, I think. The head knows, or
the mind thinks, but the head,
but the heart knows.
But the heart knows.
The mind thing. Yeah. So
Right.
I think there's a lot of merit in that. So basically, you went through this hardship, you surrendered,
Yep.
you focused on your health,
Yeah.
and you poured good stuff into your brain
Yeah.
at scale through that period of time.
Yeah, brain and through mouth.
Yeah, eating. Right.
Eating, moving, and sleeping.
Yes.
Getting that right is really important.
And today, like your center of locus, I know you really well because we spend a lot of time together here in Cyprus.
too well.
We were friends before you moved to Cyprus, months after I moved on the Gold Coast. But I noticed with you, like the center of locus for your life is really your health.
Yep.
The center of locus for my life has been my finances.
Yeah.
Right. And so today you are very fit because, like, what does your daily routine look like here in Cyprus around health, just for people to get a snapshot, and then we'll talk about Cyprus.
Yep. Okay. So every morning pretty well, I wake up when I wake up. There is no alarm. And making sure I get the right amount, for me it's 6.5, 7 hours. There's research on this, we won't go into it, but then I'll get my gear on, my Lululemon sort of workout gear.
Yeah.
That worked really well when I was with the hippies in Byron Bay, when I was living in a pod. Didn't quite fit. But I'll be out on the beach, I'm earthing, I'm making sure I'm barefoot when I'm on the beach. When I'm running, I wear very flat sole shoes because of a lot of the research that's now out regarding these high sort of heel things. I'm out and I'm doing sprints twice a week, 20-second sprint with a 2-minute break, and you can do that from 3 to 6 times. I do it about 6 times. I do that twice a week. This is all research-based stuff. Then I'm doing weights twice a week, but it's time under load. There's a book called Body by Science. I recommend everybody get it. It gets pretty deep into the techie stuff, but there's a workout in there. You can probably chat GPT it to get the workout. 15 minutes is my workout.
Mm-hmm.
Like 3 to 5, 10 seconds on the 5 muscle groups. That's enough for my
10 seconds
health.
down, 10 seconds up.
Exactly. So you're just counting.
So for those of you listening and taking notes, what was the book called?
Body by Science.
Body by Science. So you're lifting weights twice a week using the Body by Science method. You're doing sprints twice a week, and you're running.
And I'm running. Having done endurance, that's easy for me.
Yeah.
I'll run about 5 times a week. I'm pretty well in zone 2. In fact,
How far do you run?
I'll run about 6 or 7 Ks these days. I used to do like 10 Ks a day and plus.
And you eat really well.
Pretty well. I like to have some fun as well, right? You don't want to get what they call orthorexic about this, on the weekends, you see me, and I'll splurge a bit. I love my desserts. Friday, Saturday, it's
You do sneak the occasional beer in, the occasional beer.
I do have a beer. I have usually a glass of red and a gin because I know they're the healthiest of the bad bunch. And, you try to do it 2 or 3 hours before you go to sleep. And same with eating. Friday night, that's not going to happen. Saturday. So I balance it out, but I know my body and I've researched a lot of this stuff. So
for those of you not watching YouTube and you can't see Tommy, he's 59 years old. He constantly he's a guy that people go, oh my God, I can't believe how much energy and how good you look for your age. Like you're fitter than most guys half your age.
Yeah.
And you look great.
Thank you.
Ladies, single. I'll put it in there for you, buddy. So just moving on from that, let's move over to Cyprus for a minute because there's so much I want to talk about here.
Yeah.
So let's first of all just locate people to where we are right now. So we're sitting in Tommy's studio apartment. Yep. I am living in one about a 10-minute walk away, probably 4 or 5 blocks across town. I live right where the retail district is. And Tommy lives sort of in the creative industrial heart where it's like all new coffee shops popping up and it's very, very cool. Tommy's area is probably cooler than my area. But how would you describe this particular spot of Cyprus to people?
Yeah.
Where is Limassol and where is this within Limassol? So just navigate people, and then I want to get into, what you do for income, how you're growing your income, what the tax is like here, how you found the move, all that good stuff. So if you're listening, stick with us. So let's just locate first. Where is Limassol in Cyprus?
I'm in the heart of, I'd like to call it, the soul center of Limassol. Limassol's pretty well the CBD of Cyprus, but that Nicosia.
If you think of it like cities, right? It's sort of like you got Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, and all this. So
Sydney.
It's kind of the Sydney.
I'd go Sydney. Oh, actually, no.
Gold Coast, Sydney.
I go a combo of Sydney and Gold Coast, and that's what's really interesting about Cyprus because I look at it as a yin and yang thing, and that's what I love because I can be in my hippie sort of chill mode, right? And with people, and you've got community, and a lot of the Greek culture that's here. Of course, I connect with, and I hear the Greek language, and I feel like I'm with my my grandmother, bless her soul. And there's that part, and then there's big business is starting to happen here. This looks like Singapore 5 years before I'd moved to Singapore. I can see it's an upward trend. I've seen how this rodeo kind of plays out. And so, cool, I've got mental stimulation, fintech, health tech hub. I'm a tech 30 years, right? And I've got so I've got mental stimulation, can make some dollars there. And I've got this soul center piece. And around here, you've got a lot of art there. Just these cool, I'm still finding them, these cool bars and restos. We're going to one again tonight that you found, which is just freaking amazing, right?
Embers in Limassol. If you come to Limassol, make sure you book to go to Embers.
Yeah.
It's actually just on a main road with chairs on the street, but proper foodies running the joint.
Oh my Lord.
The food's incredible.
It was incredible. One of the best meals I've had, right?
In here, right?
Yeah.
But for people listening, Limassol is in the south. So basically there's 2 airports. There's Larnaca on the east coast and Paphos on the west coast in the south.
Yes.
And Limassol's kind of between them. All of those are on the coast. And then the northern side of Cyprus is under Turkish control. Yeah. So we're in the south side.
Yeah.
And we're right on the Mediterranean. So at the end of this street is the Mediterranean, and it's crystal clear and beautiful.
Yeah.
But we both live in the oldest part of Limassol, and it's all old deserted buildings that are being restored. Every second or third one is under construction. They are amazing.
They're amazing. The architecture, when I first came here, and you took me through this part, and you rolled out the red carpet for me, and I'm looking at these balconies, and they're stunning.
They're beautiful.
Right? And they're empty. I'm like, my God, these are going to get renovated into something really cool.
And it's happening, right?
It is happening. And we've got the marina at the end there. And I love boats.
Brand new,
less than 10 minutes walk.
Okay, so you decided to move to Limassol because it's kind of got that perfect blend of beach, business.
Yep.
Paphos is kind of more holiday vibe.
Yep.
Larnaca is kind of old and a bit earlier in its redevelopment or gentrification. So Limassol's sort of the heart, right? So you moved here, but what else drove you to move to this particular island floating 500 kilometers off the West Bank and 500 kilometers from the Greek islands? It's like in the middle.
It's interesting, because as I was I told a couple of family members, they said, is it safe? And this is when, you know, the Palestinian-Israel thing was happening. And I'd heard that you could see the fireworks from here when that was happening, right?
Yeah. There's bars down here where people were drinking, watching the rockets go.
Right. Yeah, okay.
It's terrifying.
And so it can be.
They were chill though. They're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, well, they're at it again. They're having an argument again, right?
Have a little tip.
You have a little tip. So it's great now. You know, I guess if they've all signed the peace treaty, then great. Let's hope everybody holds to it. But regardless, people get concerned about the safety aspect, and so I want to sort of make this clear. And I did a post on this on my Insta. You've got so many interests from so many countries in the most occupied probably country, and you've said this a few times, in the world pretty well, that there are so many fingers in the pie, and it's like you've got two British camps, which means the US is there as well. That this thing is like a fixed aircraft carrier, right? No one's going to fuck with it.
Yeah.
Right? So they leave it alone. So it's like, I've called it the eye of the storm. In fact, a friend of ours called it the eye of the storm and said, I'm going to steal that. Great. That's a great way to describe it. So it's perfectly safe. And within here too, it's safe.
Oh, totally. Like you can walk around in Limassol at all hours of the night and you're pretty much safe. Like there's not much happens. It was interesting on Saturday, Tommy and I, Saturday afternoon, was it Sunday? Sunday, we took the boat out. So we took a boat out with another friend of ours. Sunday morning, yeah. We rented a boat for 4 hours with crew and they took us diving and we used the machine. What do they call that? The scooter?
Oh,
where they tow you underwater and we went under around the shipwrecks. And this is in November, mind you.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. And then we went back to a place called Ladies Mile. So Ladies Mile is a strip of beach that looks back at Limassol, and it's a dirt road.
It's not a mile of ladies.
No, there are a few ladies around that. But there's basically 4 beach clubs that stretch along this mile of road, but it's probably a couple of miles. But what's interesting is when we sat down for lunch, I don't know if you noticed this, I got a text message on my phone saying, welcome to UK, because that land is actually owned by the UK.
That's right.
And it's registered on the SIM as a UK, as being back in the UK, which is interesting. So you've got this UK parts of the island that are owned from the Brits, and then you've got these other parts. So you decide to settle in Limassol, and how did you find it? Like, how do you feel? Because you and I both lived in Main Beach on the Gold Coast, and we both moved to this town.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an I always, when people say to me, I'm moving to Cyprus, and then quite a few Aussies have come and checked it out since I moved here, and I've had coffee with them as of yet.
Yeah.
And I'm always curious to see their response, because it is confronting, because Australia is so perfect. It's so pristine.
Pleasantville.
Yeah, the beaches are beautiful. The footpaths are clean. And here it's like, footpaths? What's a footpath? So, you know, and you've got every third building has got graffiti on it and broken down in the city. And there's people like you that come and go, oh my God, look at the bones on that building. And Tommy and I often laugh at ourselves because we walk around the old streets of Limassol with just 2 guys go, wow, look at the architecture on that one. And we look so gay.
Man, it looks like a shithole. What are you talking about?
We look so gay. And it's funny because we both appreciate the architecture, but other people come and go, what a shithole.
Right.
It's a dump, right?
Yeah.
But I don't see the dump. I see, but what about you? What's your feel? Like, you mentioned quickly, you see like an emerging Singapore, but...
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got the new stuff interspersed with the old stuff. And so I think the way the government's regulating this is kind of really smart. They're protecting their heritage, but then they're also letting these heritage protected buildings be renovated within certain, like in Australia, right? Certain things you can and can't do with infrastructure around that. And the graffiti, I look at it as art. It's not like angry graffiti. And this is an artistic sort of center around here too, because it's like walking around in a museum with new stuff coming in. So for me, and because I've traveled a lot, right, as well, I look at it as being real. I look at it as being authentic, the no BS factor, which is a big part of my life now. And it's a different way, but it's great to have so much history that's here, which we don't get in Australia, which has been beautifully planned in most respects. And looks like Pleasantville with a huge amount of tax, right? So, yeah.
You have the moments, don't you, when you move to a place like this? Like, I came from a beautiful home and beautiful cars and everything. Now, you and I both are members of, what's it called, Ride Now.
Ride Now.
So a lot of people in Limassol, when they need a car, you just open up Ride Now and the cars are all over the city.
Yeah.
You just book it.
All 3 cities.
Yeah, you get 20 minutes for free to walk to the car. So you find the one nearest you hit reserve, and you got 20 minutes to walk there. And then you just push a button on the app and you jump in and drive it. When you're done, you just get out and lock it.
And you can leave it at the airport.
You
can leave it in another city.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Right.
But you have these moments in this city where, like I had one this morning. I got up at sunrise.
Right.
And I'm heading overseas tomorrow. So I wanted to do my last load of washing.
Right.
And the apartment where I'm staying, there's a shared washing machine on the roof.
Right.
And I know for people listening, they're just thinking, what the hell has Adam done to his life? Like, he had this $7 million apartment on the beach, and he's like in this shitty place that doesn't even have a washing machine. So I get up there.
Midlife crisis.
It's like 6 o'clock. Oh, I'm fully in a midlife crisis.
Long may it continue.
Long may it continue.
Long may it continue. Right?
Anyway, so I get up in the morning. It's 5:30. It's still a little dark, and I've got my little bag of washing, and I go up to the roof, and as I get to the roof, the sun's coming up. So I put my washing in. Perfect. And I just stood there for a minute, and the sun's coming up over the med, and I swing around, and there's the church there, and this beautiful church, and the old rooftop. You got these old buildings, and you've got new buildings. And it's just a moment where it's what I kind of dreamed of. Like, I had a life in Australia, and I'd be interested in your thoughts, that it was so perfect, but it was driving me slowly insane. And I was like, I need to feel something. I feel like the one thing about luxury and wealth is that people sort of, I've thought about this a lot, people define wealth by how much it separates you from reality.
Yeah.
So a Rolls Royce is defined as luxury because you can't hear any of the outside world. You can't feel any of the bumps. And it's such a metaphor for everything luxury. Yeah. The only luxury thing I really enjoy these days is business class flight. Right. That's a time where I do appreciate the separation. Yeah. But apart from business class flights, there's rarely a time where I want to be in a consistent state of separation from reality. And this morning, when I came over here, I stopped at Angela's. Right. It's a little coffee shop called the Angel's Cup. Yeah. And it's just around the corner from Tommy's house. And Angela hasn't seen me for a while. Cool chick. Yeah. I think you should be with her personally. But
keep trying.
I think she's cool as shit.
She's a cool chick.
She is a cool chick. Anyway, I went in there and she goes, Adam, how are you?
Oh, she remembered you. She didn't remember me the first time.
She actually asked, what's your friend's name?
It's
Tommy, because she felt bad, right? Anyway, I sat there, and all the chairs face each other, and you're not allowed to open laptops in there. And you have to talk. And they all thought I was being rude because they were all speaking in Greek. Yep. And Angela said, Adam doesn't understand a word you're saying, just so you know. And that was funny. But it was just that kind of moment in this old building that Angela's heart and soul has been poured into the walls. All the little trinkets and ornaments.
Everybody knows it.
She knows every customer. She knows everyone's order. She doesn't know you, but she knows everybody important. I'm just giving you shit. But these are the kinds of moments for me that I was craving as a 50-year-old that had basically lived most of my life in Australia. What about you? Like, have you had any moments where you've just stopped and gone, I am so glad to be having this experience, whether or not you end up back in Australia in a few years, but have there been moments, maybe on the weekend might have been one, but there have been other moments, Remember on the boat, I remember
hell yeah.
You and I just looked at each other going, I know how gay this sounds.
Right. That photo you took of me, where I'm like this on my post, right? That very moment, and that wasn't an extravagant, exercise.
It was an €800 investment in a boat day that we shared. And it wasn't like we had to go and it didn't have to go and buy a super yacht, right?
No.
Cheapest way to own the boat was just to rent it for the day.
Yeah, right.
So it wasn't expensive, but talk us through just some of these moments.
Well, life as a service, right? The car as well. You're renting this stuff as you need it. Only boats.
Cruising out.
The boats.
We were cruising out, and it was just like glass, wasn't it?
It was absolutely stunning. The weather, you can drink the air here as it moves from hot summer into autumn. Yeah, it's just beautiful weather, and we're out of the water, and the feeling of freedom, and I'm from yourself. I mean, how many times you just comment, "Oh, how good is this? How good is this?" Right?
Those are the exact words I used.
Yeah, and versus, let's say, the Goldie. Right? We love the Goldie for what it is. I love Byron for what it was when I was there for about 6 months. there's just this something that just slowly gets under your skin in Australia, and it's like I felt slowly being sort of, the ropes have been kind of tightened bit by bit, being slowly suffocated, right? And that was part of the motivations to live, to leave, because it's all perfect, it's comfortable, and if you for welfare and a health system, it's kind of pretty good according to world standards. But I needed somewhere where my soul was going to be happy. All of the stuff I had around me that was stripped from me, and even, when I was living in my boat, right, in the Goldie, it felt, I won't go as far as saying fake, but it didn't feel me, and it didn't feel real enough for me. And, you turn 50, and when shit happens to you, you go, you know what? I don't know how many God-given years I have left. And that goes for anybody, mind you, no matter what age.
Hit me like a truck at 50, that exact reality.
Right. And that I really started to appreciate what I did have, and also that why am I limiting myself and my experience on planet Earth when I could be gone tomorrow for whatever reason, right?
I think the thing about travel, and it's not actually to say Australia doesn't have these things, and I think this is something I'm just realizing in talking to you. Yeah. I think Australia would be experienced in the way that we experience this place for people going there for the first time.
Right.
I think it's actually less of
a holiday
function. Well, just for a period of time, for a year or two,
right.
3 years.
Okay.
I think it's just a function of actual change. And I think a lot of Aussies just feel trapped. They don't hate Australia. Yeah. They're not happy with the direction it's going. Yeah. But I think if they get out for 5 years, it's just so good for them to experience you. Totally. And also when you go home, you experience it with new eyes again.
Yes.
So I think it speaks more to this appetite for being, like when you travel, you tend to come alive. One memory I have with you here, which I want to share with you again and relive, and the audience can listen, is when you and I went out one night and we ended up on a rooftop at that, I can't think of the name of the place that has the
Da Vinci's?
Da Vinci's. Yeah. And we went out, we had this beautiful dinner, and the guy said, "Do you want to eat upstairs?" And we're like, "Sure, show us." And we hadn't been up there. Yeah. And then he says, "Oh, and this is the karaoke room." And there was this hidden door. And we're like, "Oh, well, okay." Yes. And I said to Tommy, I've never done karaoke in my life. And Tommy's actually a semi-professional singer. Anyway, we had dinner, a couple of beers. Yeah. And then Tommy roped me in to,
mate.
And I had a bit of Dutch courage because I had a couple of beers, and I was like, all right, I'm in. And then we opened the door, and there's a whole table of Russian girls there.
That's right.
There's like 20 of them.
That's right.
And these two Aussies walk in, and they're like, and then Tommy says, "All right, let's do something." I'm like, "I'm not doing this. I'm out. There's no way I'm singing in front of these people, right? All these beautiful Russian girls." And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm in Limassol. I'm in the back streets. Yeah. And we cranked on "My Way" by Frank Sinatra. That's I had the time of my life. I would never have done that in Australia. Yeah. And I sucked next to you, but I loved it.
No, you were gutted.
Oh, no, come on. I mean, it was okay, but it was an amazing moment. Right. And so for people listening to this, I guess the reason I'm telling you these stories and recounting these stories, I hope that you can feel the joy in our voice, because this is really the gift that we have given ourselves. And we often lament this between each other is, like last night we went to Osushi again, and they took us and sat us out the back, and we're like, how good is this? We're sitting under the stars, outside, in the back of a hundreds of years old building that's recently been restored and opened as one of the hottest sushi joints in
Limassol.
In Limassol, if not Cyprus. Yeah. And we're just sitting under the stars in November, just talking. And then you ran off to meet one of your business partners down at Columbia Beachfront. Yep. And I just went home and had an early night. But I want people listening to just realize, I guess, as Tommy and I both realized at 50, you don't know how long you got. My doctor said to me when I went in for my 50th checkup, "Welcome to Sniper's Alley, Adam." That's it, right. And I was like, oh shit. My doctor's got a wicked sense of humor. And, anyway, so I just want you listening to realize life is waiting for you. Yeah. And you came without deep financial resources. You came over here, this apartment, how much does this apartment cost?
You're paying in Aussie terms about 2400, 1350 euro.
Yeah.
Brand new.
That's $600 a week. You're the first tenant in here.
First tenant in the
And you don't need a car. You're right in the middle of everything.
And yeah, I mean, I lived that lifestyle. I was in the Goldie as well, right? Living on the boat, right? On the houseboat.
And this is considered
Part of
by
my golf
locals.
regime.
For locals, this is considered expensive.
Yeah.
Because it's brand new and it's right in the middle of probably the hottest section of Limassol.
Yep.
And underneath us are the coolest new restaurant, cafe, beauty salon.
Yeah.
I know why you're renting above the beauty salon, mate. Like, you ain't fooling anybody.
Yeah, I know why you always want to have lunch just down below too.
So
Look at yours. I'm here.
Tell me, I'm downstairs. Right. So anyway, it's about $600 a week. But of course, I always say to people, they think their biggest expense in life is buying their own home, but it's actually government under which you choose to live.
Yeah.
Because your biggest expense of most people is your tax bill every week, right?
Yes.
Most Australians are working till at least Tuesday afternoon and probably Wednesday afternoon for the government. And then with the bit that they get after that, half the items they're buying have got hidden tax in them.
Yeah.
And then they've got words for tax like registration, fine.
Yeah.
All these are just words for tax.
Yeah.
So even the bit you get, you still get taxed on it when you spend it. So when you moved here, you're getting taxed now at 15%.
About, I mean, I've lived in this sort of similar regime in Singapore for 14 years.
12 and a half, sorry.
That is, it's 12 and a half here profits company. Right?
Yeah.
That'll move to 15. And they just announced that it's going to be, 8% for crypto, right? Less than Dubai, right? But so, I'm not against paying tax, by the way. Right? No. I want to say compliant, but I like the money being spent. Well, I believe it's being spent properly
and a reasonable
for
amount
the people, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And a reasonable amount.
Yes. Yeah.
We both used medical services here. Like, I was at the dentist the other day. The dentist was indiscernible from an Australian dental practice.
Yeah.
Cost me €70 for a teeth clean.
Right, for a polish and whatever. Clean, hygiene. Yeah.
So you've cut your tax bill down to 12.5% maximum.
That's in the company.
Yeah, that's in the company, and 0 from the dividends.
Yep.
So that's about a 70% reduction in your tax bill.
Yep.
And let's talk about money. So making money. You work for a big software company. Maybe you can talk about that and then talk about what else you're doing at age 59.
Yeah.
Because I want people to understand that just because you're 59 doesn't mean you stop learning.
You're not dead yet.
Earning.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Totally.
Oh my God. I feel like I'm still getting it right. I still, tapping into that curiosity child part of you. I think it's so important to keep that alive. I think
you work the mornings.
I work the mornings. Contract? Yeah, I do. There's a policy with the company, and I'm basically a nomadic exec. I work for a really cool with contract with a really cool software company.
A very big one.
That very big one that allows you to be anywhere pretty well. And I think that's very smart because they can tap into people like us that are at a stage of life that go, you know what, I don't want to put up with the bullshit. I'll play with this because I like playing with the kids, as I'd say. I'm a middle-aged millennial myself, right? And now it's about giving back and contributing. And so I mentor some of them. So I'm doing that, and that gives me a buzz for different reasons than before, which was about building finance. Now it's, okay, this pays bills. But then there's other stuff that I also do.
Because your goal is to get on a boat again, right? Like, you want to be in the Greek islands and would love to spend half a year living on a boat at least.
Yep.
So you're trying to now get your income separate from the software gig because that still is at the decision of the company to keep you.
Yep.
So tell us quickly about some of the things that you're doing outside of having an online gig that other people listening to this could start potentially looking into so they can start building a bridge if they decide they want to move to Thailand or move to Malaysia or Bali or Cyprus. They might spend a couple of years developing those skills, and then once the bridge is built, go, hey, I've got $100,000 a year income happening here that's completely nomadic.
Yep.
What are some of those things?
Okay.
We won't go too deep because I don't want. I just want to touch on them quickly.
Got it. Okay. So, I tried trading years ago. Wasn't that great at it. Now, with all the automation and things like AI that are around, I've managed to find a couple of products that some I'm getting trained in, some I actually use and invest in, where I'm getting cash flow also from these other products. Now, I've been in crypto for a number of years. I got hit with the NFT thing too. As another little financial shock, a number of years ago. But Bitcoin, as for me, that's where I bank pretty well. Right?
Yep.
So that builds, but I've got one, 30 or 40% ROI with one organization. It's a Web3 company, putting capital in. And then there's another one where I'm learning
30 or 40% a year?
30 to 40% a year.
Okay, return.
Yep.
And guys, if you're interested in any of these things, you can DM Tommy. So where do they find you?
At Tommy Gallant, that's TOMMYGALANT.
1L.
Tommy Gallant, 1L. Yeah.
On Instagram.
On Insta.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to double click on something you said. You bank in Bitcoin. So does that mean that you receive your cash from the software company contract?
Yep.
You pay your expenses and then you basically bank your surplus into Bitcoin. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you bank all the surplus. You got a monthly budget. You pay your cash bills and then you put everything into Bitcoin. If you ever need cash again, you borrow against your Bitcoin from time to time.
That's right.
I believe.
That's right. I'm not going to spend my Bitcoin. I just want to continue to build and hodl that. But you can leverage it up to 50% LVR, like a house. And so, these organizations take, instead of taking title, they kind of take it as the collateral, right? And there's different security things in place to make sure that is kept under lock and key.
Yep.
And then I'll leverage up to 50% of that to actually invest in some of these other things that generate cash flow, also in Web3, and also learning to algorithmic trade as well.
Okay, so we'll come back to that in a second. Yeah. So I just want to double click on this for the listener. I'm a big Bitcoiner. Obviously, this show is traditionally about Bitcoin. So, of course, guys, what Tommy's talking about here is, there are risks with it because you're moving your Bitcoin out of self-custody where it's not out there. And
not on your cold wallet.
Yeah, you're moving it into the custody of a third party.
Yep.
So that inherently has some risk.
Yep.
But you use Leaden.
Leaden is one of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And who else?
There's a couple of others.
Which one do you use?
Over here, I'm using Nexo.
Nexo. Okay.
You got to be a European resident for that, and then there's other ones like Figure. There's Aave. There's a number of them. Yeah, I'm using about 3 of them at the moment.
So if you do this, you basically move your Bitcoin into their custody, and the next day, cash, fiat money, is in your bank account to do with what you want.
Well, within an hour.
Within an hour. Okay, and then you can spend it, but the term of the loan is 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever you choose.
6 months at about 10%.
Yes.
And if you've got Bitcoin doing 30, 40%, I know we're in a flat spot right now, but there's a lot of macro things happening right now.
Yep.
You'll pay, let's say 10%, you get, you say on average 30% on your Bitcoin.
So if you put up $100,000 of Bitcoin, they'll give you $50,000 of cash.
Yep.
And then you've got to make sure that you don't get margin called.
Yep. I mean, you can go to 70%. I stay around 50.
You stay around 50.
Right.
So you just got to keep an eye. So guys, before you do any of this, go to Grok or ChatGPT and ask, what are the risks of borrowing against my Bitcoin? But you do that, and then you invest in other things as well. So you said that you do this Web3 investment that's yielding 30 or 40% a year.
Yep.
And you said you do some trading. I know it's called prop trading. I don't know about prop trading.
Yeah.
That's part of it. Yeah. So you sort of do something cool with prop trading.
Yeah.
Just bottom line that. Can you work from anywhere with prop trading?
You can work from anywhere with prop trading.
Yeah.
And the prop firms are basically where you get leverage.
Right.
But without as much risk that you may be prepared to take. But that's
when you say without as much risk, are you putting anything at risk, or are you?
Yes,
you are.
You're putting you're playing the game that, so to speak, it'll be a few $100s.
Right.
You get access to, let's say, $150 or so $1,000.
Okay, and whose $150,000 is it?
So that belongs to the prop firm.
Right.
And there's 2 levels to this without overcomplicating. But basically, what they do is they'll let you trade in the market to that level, and then they haven't necessarily it's not necessarily their capital, because people would go, why would they risk that much? I pay a few $100 and you're going to give me $150 to play with. I mean, you don't even know me. They get you to do a challenge first. And so over a few days, they see you trade and then they go, okay, you passed our challenge. We're going to give you access to play with this.
And then they put tight controls in place so that you don't lose their $100,000.
Yeah, so drawdown limit.
So what you're saying is you pay a small fee for access to a pool of their capital.
Yep.
That if you lose, you lose the small fee.
That's all you lost.
That's all you lose. You can't leverage and lose more.
Correct.
Okay.
You don't, yeah. And
This
they'll
is
take
a-
a little clip as well of the profits. That's all.
Okay. When you say little clip, how
5
much?
to 10%.
Okay, and you keep the rest of the profits.
Keep the rest.
This sounds wild to me, and
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
And we don't have time to go into it now.
Yeah, no, that's a
I've got a
separate
few
session.
people that are doing this, and they're like, I'm learning to prop trade, and I'm getting certified to enter these challenges. So guys listening, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But you can hit Tommy up and ask him,
Yeah.
and he can recommend how he's gone about it. But just bottom line that, like, what can you realistically make doing this, and how much really are you talking with your own risk?
3 to 5% per month,
Okay,
right?
with your
on
downside
large-
being a few $100s.
a few $100s perhaps, right?
month.
Depending on how deep you want to go into how much capital you want to kind of challenge yourself to play with, right? On the challenge. So it's, but it's, the piece that's interesting though is doing the algorithmic trading part makes it even easier for you to pass these tests. And that, when I saw that, I thought, that's cool. I'm a tech guy, but I'm only sales and marketing. So it's not that hard to learn.
What's up, guys? Sorry to interrupt the pod. This is not a commercial, so keep listening. The reason I'm making this little insert here is because Tommy just mentioned prop trading as something that he has been learning to do. And this is actually the second time in the last few weeks that I've heard this term prop trading. Prior to that, I'd never heard of it. The first time was with Chris and Cindy Broadfoot in the podcast we released with them. That's the Aussie couple that are living in Thailand now, and now hearing it again from Tommy. So I know you guys listen to the show and you're eager beavers to figure out new ways to make money. And when I heard this term prop trading, I then went and did some research myself. And not everything that I dug up is fantastic related to prop trading. In fact, it's a business model from my experience of looking at it that relies on a vast majority of traders losing their money, and then the few that do win eventually seem to get sort of kicked out of the system by the prop trading companies, because it's a little bit like a bookie or a casino, in that the people that win, they don't really want them to win. This is with a vast majority of prop trading companies. Now, there are some prop trading companies that are legit, and I'm sure Tommy and Chris and Cindy are involved with those ones, but I just wanted to drop that in here as just a word of caution about prop trading generally. Now, I also had a deeper chat with Tommy about, like, what exactly did he learn around prop trading and everything that he's doing now. And really what Tommy learned was algorithmic trading. So this is a set of knowledge that he has acquired where you basically can get all of the trading algorithm on any commodity or something that you're interested in, whether it be Bitcoin, oil, gold, anything like that. You can get that back-tested data freely available online, and then you can ingest it into these programs that help you create your own trading strategy. So you learn to algorithmically trade these commodities and assets. And once you've learned how to do that, one way of utilizing that algorithmic trading skill that you've developed is using prop firms, which basically advertise that you can use their capital to trade with once you've proven that you are a competent trader. So all I wanted to really insert into here is, first of all, a word of caution about prop trading generally, but for Tommy, it's just one way that he can leverage his knowledge of trading algorithmic markets. Obviously, a lot of people are drawn to this and things like prop trading because it enables you the laptop lifestyle. But trading is super high risk. A vast majority of traders lose and don't win. And so I just wanted to drop that in here. If you're curious to learn exactly what Tommy does and the education that he's done, reach out to him on his social media and the information that he's given in the podcast. But I care about the experience you guys have, and this is to say nothing about Chris and Cindy or Tommy. They're smart people, they're ethical people. I'm not saying anything they're doing is wrong. I'm just saying prop trading generally, be a little bit careful of. With that said, let's get back to this podcast and let us know. Remember, if you like the content, drop a comment, and also please subscribe if you're enjoying it, because the number of subscribers we have determines the quality of the guests that we can get on the show. With that said, let's get back to the episode. All right, so I think for people listening, if you're interested in that, hit Tommy up. Okay, I don't know anything about it, but I love that you are into it, and I love that you're learning at 59 these new things. Yeah. Have you found that, like, since you've moved, that, and you put yourself in this position, are you attracting new business relationships into your life?
Yep.
How have you found Limassol for like networking, meeting new people? What are you doing to sort of grow that?
Okay, I want to preface that by saying that, freedom, which is a very important value for me, and I know for you as well, lives in the unfamiliar. So you have to go to somewhere you haven't been before, right? I've come to Cyprus. I mean, you did it like that. I actually researched it a lot more, and you said, "Nah, this is good. I'm going."
Well, it actually took me a while.
Did it?
It took me at least a year just to sell up. And
That story.
Yeah.
We never talked
You're
about
going to
it.
interview me next.
Yeah, I'm going to interview you next.
Okay,
right?
done.
There we go.
Done. You talk about my shit show and train smash.
It's okay. That'll be interesting. That'll be a long set. That's going to be a few hours.
Karma's going to be a bitch.
Right? Yeah. All right. We should work out a good venue for that. What was the question? Where were we?
You're talking about freedom lives in the unfamiliar. You have to move. You have to make the first
You
step.
have to make changes. And so, yes, when I opened the door, so to speak, that's when things accelerated and started changing at speed. I've met some amazing people here. I did a week in Dubai, went to the blockchain life thing there, looked at real estate there. It reminds me of Singapore. Was more fascinated by the blockchain event, and a couple of relationships with a couple of founding CEOs there who have these great products. So I've gone and interviewed and drilled these guys in due diligence before I'm going to start using their services, right?
Yeah.
And so those relationships are happening. I'm engaging even with you on a different level because of this sort of transformation you've been going through, which would be an interesting platform to have the interview on, I think, now that you put it out there. And so all these different experiences, you start vibing differently, and it feels like things are coming to you. There's no hustle and grind bullshit. I'm done with hustle and grind, right? I'm done with living any form of bullshit life. I'm done with being with bullshit people. It's got to be all organic, apart from a big chunk of my food being that as well. This is where I'm starting to hit the sweet spot, and I'm not a gazillionaire. Right. I haven't been as, most people haven't been as financially successful as yourself. And I'm living this life.
Our lives are so similar despite our financial situations.
Right.
It constantly fascinates both of us. We're just there. We're both drinking the same Asahi or the same Keo beer. We're both eating in the same place. Our lives are pretty similar.
But you said, it's like, fuck, I overshot the runway.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think for me, I mean, turning 50, I just started to, I think I woke up in a world realizing what Jim Carrey said, I wish everybody could be rich and famous, because then they'd realize that's not where happiness lives.
Yeah.
There is no joy in things at all. Yeah. Yesterday I bought this watch when I was on the street, and it's a €59 Casio watch. Yeah. And I saw it because it reminded me of my childhood. And I love the fact I push this button and a little blue light comes on, It's like, oh God, that takes me back to my childhood, And, that's brought me a little bit of joy. Yeah. And it's $59 or €59. And I love it. I keep looking at it because I genuinely...
I like it, dude.
I actually like it. Yeah. But I get a good feeling from it because of the nostalgic side.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I kind of realized I derive all of my joy from giving and from experiences. And I've had some very unique opportunities to indulge in both of those passions. Once I got out of Australia, where there is need, but there is not the level of need that I've seen here or I've seen in Bali and my travels. Yeah. And I've had beautiful opportunities to give directly to people that really, really need a hand. Yeah. So that's been beautiful. But I think for me, that's really it. And that's why as a group, we've got a little group of friends here, and we've had a great time from renting boats to going to the football the other night, the Champions League at Paphos Stadium. Yep. And Paphos beat
the Spanish team, Champions League.
Villarreal.
Oh God!
Nobody thought they'd win, and they won.
1-0.
Yeah, and Paphos was amazing. And so I think for if there's anybody listening that is our age or my age and is still pushing and they're not enjoying it, I would ask you the question, what the fuck, bro?
Right. Right.
I did meet, by virtue of how I was living in Australia, some very, very successful business people, billionaires and similar in my travels. And I didn't meet any that I looked at and went, God, I want to be them.
Right.
None.
Right.
I didn't like how they were with people. Yeah, right. I didn't radiate joy, peace, fulfillment. And so, coming out here has been, and just letting go. Like I said, this morning I got up and I thought, I've got to go do my washing, and I'm going to walk downstairs because my apartment doesn't have a washing machine. I'm going to go onto the roof in a communal washing machine.
Right.
And I'm still the same guy with my Casio watch on.
Near the church, the sun's coming out.
Yeah, the joy is completely within my control or not. And it's not going to come from things.
It's not from things, and I think it's been really, as a mate, watching you transform from when we first met a few years ago, and especially over the last year, and it gets accelerated by impactful events in your life where you have a choice and you're at a fork in the road, and you've had some big changes of late, and I see it accelerating with you. And so we're even engaging now at a different frequency level than I knew was with you, because you remember, like, the first event, I think it was the first event years ago that I went to and saw you there, and I think we'd had a coffee beforehand. We met a couple of times beforehand, and you go to these events, and then the credit card machines are up at the back, and you're waiting for the hook and the hard sell bullshit that's about to come, and you didn't do any, and I've never seen you do any of that. And you're also giving the risk and the other side of the picture. You're giving people options, what you've done, what to be careful about, and if people want to transact then on that balanced view, then they have to take ownership of that. Yeah. There's no push hard sell. Hey, it's really great. You can do this, And I got up and I said in front of a lot of people, I think I speak for everybody in here, I've never been to an event where someone has delivered in that way. And I thought, this is, without being this neutral bloody admiration society thing, it's why we're friends. It's why I pick certain people, no matter how rich they are or how poor they are, they're humans. I'm after a soul, and connecting with a soul that wants to also do great things for the planet. And I see with the options, and I've said this to you a number of times, right? What you do for people. And I think I'm really excited about where you're actually headed, and helping people like you're talking about at a grander scale.
I just hope people listening, they really that the sense of relief that has come from really just letting go of the ego-driven side of life. Yeah. Like I was clearing out my closet this morning, and people were like, dude, you've got 3 suitcases and one of them's full of podcast gear. How the hell can you be clearing out?
Gear. I got 3, one's health gear.
I've still got too much. Right? I've still got too much. And too much stuff. Yep. And when you let go of that needing to impress, somebody wrote a comment the other day on a video. I was being interviewed on a podcast, and I was in Marseille, and I did it from the hotel room with just the little Apple earphones. And some guy wrote, sure, this guy's rich. He can't even afford a microphone. I was laughing, and I'm going, fantastic, my subterfuge is working. But I mean, when you let go, and Australia, as much as I love it, especially, there's different Australias, of course, depending on how you live and where you live, but a lot of our listeners are wealth creators, and there's a lot of tension and stress and constantly striving in a country where it's getting way more expensive to live. You're getting taxed to death. When I simply decided to just play down a couple of grades and try to force myself. And I said to some of my friends before I left, they said, this is going to be interesting watching you step away from business in the way that you've been. Like, you've been a savage in business.
Like, I even said to you, like, as you were making the change, like, dude, you're locked in gear. Right? Like, and then,
Oh, yeah. And people were like, how are you going to go with it? And I said, well, I want to see if I can find happiness outside of chasing more money. And for entrepreneurs who are listening to this, they realize that how difficult that is, because it's a drug, right? And you there's a goal and there's a thing, and and it's in the chase and it's in the achieve. That's where you get your fulfillment. Yeah. But if you remove that, dopamine. Now it's like, oh, wow, now you've actually got to do the work of actually finding peace and fulfillment and joy from within. And that's why I want to spend a lot more time in Bali, is because it's one of those few places in the world that speak to my soul. And I feel there's something in that culture that is so heart-centered and so
It's
devoid of ego. It is it's feminine in its nature.
Yeah.
It's like the antithesis of Western ideals.
The yin and the yang.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And so people go, oh, Bali's a shit, oh, Bali's a... I'm like, look, dude, I'm not talking about the water quality.
Right.
I'm not talking about the traffic. I'm talking about what you can't see.
Yeah.
It's what you experience in the smile of the person that parks your motorbike or makes you a coffee. It's in that culture. And that culture then translates into people's vibe when they're there.
Yep.
And now that I've let go of needing to have a Lamborghini to show that I'm,
These are all distractions.
And they're all distractions.
From who you are.
Yeah. And then when you can just cruise around on a motorbike and just not give a single toss what anybody thinks and breathe.
Be nobody.
And be nobody and just be present in the moment. The number of times in Bali where I've just sat in the most weird places and just felt profound gratitude for having enough in my Wise card to pay for my dinner.
Yeah, right.
And not have to worry too much whether I can afford the $3 fucking smoothie or whatever it is.
Right.
There's something so liberating about that.
Look, this is a really interesting point because, I've looked at life since, things changed for me a lot around 50. And and I'd say to people when I'm helping them out when they're thinking they're really in the dumps because something happened to them that day or there's some shit going on at work or whatever, and I'd go, hey, you've got somewhere, you're eating food, you can pay for eating food, right? Yeah, and so you've got somewhere to live, and you can sleep tonight, right? Yeah, and like the kids, yeah. So the rest is fucking upside, mate. Mm-hmm. What do you complain? What are you like? They may be even overweight. Like we used to starve to death not that long ago. And the rest is upside. Appreciate everything else above that bottom end of Maslow's hierarchy, right? We take it for granted. We don't appreciate what we have. Yeah.
I have a dear friend here in Limassol, and who I'm talking about, and they're in a very difficult living situation, very difficult, with bad things happening in the place where they are. Yeah. And I said, what's stopping you from getting out of that place? And they said, well, I can afford the rent in a new place, but I can't afford the deposit and the bond. And I was like, okay, so what if I gave you the deposit and the bond just as a gift?
Yeah.
And they just looked at me like I was from another planet, right?
What?
And I just booked in for 2 blood cleaning sessions, right? Where they put my machine, get my blood, put it through a machine and put it back in, not because it's medically needed. It'll make me feel better for a week.
First world luxuries.
Right? This Ebu thing. I was like, I want to try that.
That's pretty cool. It's a good idea. Yeah, it's a good idea.
That's a good idea. But anyway.
And cheap in Bali.
The cost of it here for those 2 sessions was enough to give that person what they needed to get out of a horrible living situation and have their own place.
Yeah.
And they just burst into tears and were like, oh my God, you would do that? Why would you do that for me?
Yeah.
I'm like, because I like to do things for people that are nice.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't have kids.
Yeah.
So I can do this. I've been incredibly blessed. Don't worry about it from my side.
Yeah.
If I give you the money, will you take it? And they're like, yes, of course. It completely changes their life.
Yeah. And this is you're only talking about one example. I know because I know you. I know of many.
Yeah. But that's just one little example of just it's just such a bit more fulfilling way. I said to this person, don't worry, trust me, I'm getting more out of this deal than you are. Right?
It's a selfish thing.
Look at me. Yeah, this is a selfish act as far as I'm concerned. And I say this not to boast or anything else. All I'm saying this because I'm sitting here, I'm telling you openly, I live in a rental studio. Right? I wash my clothes on a communal washing machine upstairs because I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
What I cared about much more is that kind of engagement.
Yep.
And knowing how impactful that is.
Gives life meaning.
Yeah. And this person, because we've been out together as a group, is one of the kindest human beings I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
And has been through some of the most horrific shit.
Worse than if you talk about my situation and others.
It makes all of our complaints look like fucking walk in the park.
Yeah.
They've been through some proper shit.
Oh, yeah.
And still have this beautiful, soft, light kindness to them. And it has
no anger at all. You can't pick it up at all. It's just such a, just a beautiful vibe.
Yeah. There's just a kindness there.
Yeah.
And And so we both are inspired by this person. So, you know, I think it's just a rethinking of what success is and what you can do with your money, because I think the person who wins the most is the person who sort of figures out how to use money in a way that brings joy to them and others. And it's not measured by, you know, what type of Ferrari is it?
Flexing.
Nobody's ever going to remember you for the car you drove. Wow, that guy who drove that Ferrari's dead. Oh wow, I'm really sad.
Oh my God, got it. Flag.
Anyway, so I hope you guys are listening. I hope you found something from this interview. Tommy, thank you for being so willing to talk about the stuff that's not normally talked about on pods. You know, the hard stuff, the real stuff, the true stuff. Because everybody wants to project that life's been swimming, you know, life's been amazing. But of course it hasn't been, and you've been through hard things, but you're such a positive guy and you inspire me as a friend, and I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Personally, and I think the audience is going to appreciate you having the nuts to come on and not pretend that you are a multi-millionaire, squillionaire who hasn't dealt with shit. You know, everyone watching has been through and is going through shit.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people out, especially right now. I think, like you was just saying a moment ago too, I think I learned that the biggest buzz, and when you're looking at purpose in life and meaning, is like being in service of others and how can you help? And that's what keeps me going today, and identifying why am I here is what can I do that I have as special gifts that can make positive impact in people's lives and leaving that legacy, you know, including like my beautiful son that I have, that I think about, and sometimes feel funny that I'm not with him, but at the same time, I know I've got my stuff to do too. You know, so thanks for the opportunity to come and have a chat. But questions for you. One is, so after dinner tonight, are we doing karaoke?
Let's see how we go. It's not a no. It just depends whether this old man can keep his eyes open.
The primers might help. Second one is that I'm going to hold you to the interview back the other way.
I actually look forward to that, because I've wanted to get interviewed again, but by a friend who knows me. And you've had a front row seat to some pretty interesting experiences in my life this year, both good and bad. And I'm almost ready to talk about most of that. So in the next month or two, it'd be nice, and we can go and do that. But I think having a friend do it as somebody who knows me is going to be a very different interview, because I'd like to do it like this. You know, where it's a real chat. That you guys watching feel like you're actually sitting with us and you're not being presented to or framed up or just a real chat, because there's a lot's happened in my life in the last year that's not public and not shared, and some of it I would share, at least my experience in going through big change. So I'll definitely do that.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that.
So guys, if you want to listen to or learn more or follow along Tommy's journey, follow him, Tommy Gallant, on Instagram, and that's with one L, Galant. He's become a good mate, and I'm really excited to see where you go in the next 10 years and before you hit the halfway mark in life.
Who knows what that's going to be? We're reaching escape velocity now with everything that's happening in tech, man. So
I reckon we'll be spending more time in the Med on a boat.
I think that's going to be the case.
Because we've been out twice out there, and each day we've just looked at each other and gone, God, man, we've got to do more of this.
Right.
And it's not that expensive.
It's not that expensive.
You just got to go and do it. Give yourself permission to actually have some fun for once.
For sure.
Tommy, thank you so much,
Thanks,
brother.
mate.
Appreciate you. Thanks.
Okay.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Sat Signal on Unemployable. Now, before you go, make sure you check out the 3 links in the description below. When you are a Bitcoiner, there are 3 things you need to do. You need to buy it, you need to store it, and possibly, if you're really into it, you might even want to mine it. But when it comes to buying it, we work with Stormrake, and the reason we do that as Australians is they are the easiest to buy from as a Bitcoin broker, the largest ones in the country. You have less challenges moving your money into their account to buy your Bitcoin for you. They offer a white glove service. They are Aussies. They have an office in Melbourne. They're a really good business to deal with, especially if you're first time to buying Bitcoin. So the way to contact them is go to stormrake.com/unemployable. They will look after you. When it comes to storing your Bitcoin, go to thebitcoinway.com/unemployable. They are the world leaders in helping people take full custody of their Bitcoin. So it will never be stolen from you. Don't leave it on exchanges. take custody, learn to become your own security expert. And the last people we work with is Mining Store, also an Aussie company based in Melbourne. They can show you how to mine Bitcoin 24/7. So no matter what the price is, you just keep dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin using your own Bitcoin mining gear. To learn more, go to miningstore.com.au/unemployable. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure you subscribe before you leave.